If you could grab somebody by the shoulders and let them know something that they might not understand about running a restaurant in South Surrey, what would you say to that?
Having the right people who believe in your mission is the biggest challenge.
Why did you decide to do that? What was important about it?
The concept, whatever food we had, it had to be inclusive.
And why was that important to you to do?
Let's think of it as our core value, like the value that we all want to offer, say, to our guest or to our customer.
Welcome to the Best of White Rock, where we sit down with the standout business owners, community leaders, and entrepreneurs shaping life here in White Rock and South Surrey for the better. These are their stories behind the people driving real change in our community. Hosted by me, Darren German of the German Group. Inder Raj, I have been looking forward to sitting down with you for weeks now. We had to postpone, things got busy and that was okay. And now we're finally doing it. When we first connected, the story that you told me about how you got into the restaurant business and how you opened those Indian guys, we're gonna get into all that because it's super fascinating, super awesome. But your restaurant stands for so much more than just what meets the eye. So we're gonna unpack all that today.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it. So please let everybody know who you are and what your restaurant is.
My name is Inder Raj Gill. The restaurant is called Those Indian Guys. And there's actually three of us. A lot of people may not know this, but there's me, Inder Raj, there's Vineet, who's the chef, and there's my wife, her Smita. She's not a full-time worker at the restaurant, but she's like an investor and lends us that third-person perspective, which we absolutely need all the time. So the three of us make Those Indian Guys, a fast casual Indian restaurant, more, I'm going to say, on the lines of wraps, a little bit of bowls. You've tried one of our wraps, so we were happy to have you over. And I must tell you, I was looking forward to this for so long. And personally, thank you for coming over and highlighting one of our wraps. So,
well, we got introduced in a very fascinating way because as part of what I do with my real estate business and also the Best of White Rock, we like to try new places in town, see what's going on, and existing restaurants as well.
Yeah.
And we came and visited those Indian guys. And when I came there, everything I said in this video was true. I mean, the place is beautiful. The way it's designed is incredible. It was perfectly clean inside. The staff were incredible. But to hell with all that, who cares? The food was unbelievable. It was so good. So anyways, we did this Instagram video and wanted to highlight to the community. And that's how you and I met. So I was looking this morning and getting ready for this. And to date, that post has 112,000 people have viewed it.
wow, yeah, that's insane.
1,800 likes and 3,000 shares.
I did not even check that. I'm surprised at the statistics myself. Like, it's insane.
Well, number one, clearly that tells me that people in our community love knowing about the hot food spots in town and what's going on out there. But also there is a large desire for the type of food you serve. And I know that's a big part of your story which we're going to get into. Tell me a little bit about those Indian guys. So what type of food do you serve there and where did the concept come from?
So going back to 2011, I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory. Vineet the chef and I, we met at a hotel school in Switzerland.
You met at a hotel school in Switzerland?
Yes, it's called the Swiss Hotel Management School in a small town called Montreux near Geneva. This is close to the French border.
Okay.
And we did our hotel operations management studies post-graduation. Course was more oriented towards hands-on work, like our exams were actually, say, holding a banquet. Our production exam was cooking for a fine French restaurant. So that's where all the education came from, and our inclination of working in the industry came from there.
And why were you in a program like that in the first place?
So my family came from like a hospitality background. And I always wanted to, well, in hindsight, always wanted to work in the family business of hotels back home in India.
Hotels back in India?
Yes.
So your family owns hotels back in India?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is in a world famous city called Jaipur.
Okay.
And it's one of those places which kind of is a perfect blend of modernism plus history, culture. So hospitality is huge in that place. That's how my family got into that business.
Okay.
And that's how I wanted to carry on forward with some professional like a degree and then a little bit of experience and maybe bring in some new ideas. That's how I went to Switzerland. Vineet, now his story is very interesting. So he grew up in a very traditional Indian joint household. Like there's like, I think around 15 people living in the same house, like a huge place. But being a traditional Indian household, men don't cook. It's the women who cook. Like that's how it's been, unfortunately, going on for so long. But thankfully now,
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, who's on side of the fence, right? I'm thinking, come home and I don't have to do any cooking. That doesn't sound too bad.
what I did not, or what I don't like about the story is like how there were labels. But thankfully, that's all in the wind now. And now India's become such a progressive society. And I am happy that it's turned out to be that way. But in Vineet's case, like all his cousins were playing out in the field, but he was with his mom in the kitchen trying to figure out what his mom was doing. And his mom enthusiastically, not thinking about what the other members of the family might think, she would tell Vineet each and exact recipes. She would tell Vineet how things should be going. So learning from, his mother, his inclination towards the culinary arts began. I don't think there is any better motivation than learning from your mom and then going to one of the best hotel schools and learning from there and going on to, work in international chains like the Intercontinental Hotels, the Boutique Hotel in Geneva. That's where his experience came from. So he's always been in culinary. Fast forward 2018, the both of us met here in 2018 coincidentally.
So you guys went to school in Switzerland, and then you happenstance led you to each other in British Columbia as well.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he was in the US. I think he was in Houston working with the Intercontinental in F&B production.
The Intercontinental Hotel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he'd been doing amazing. The first month, can you imagine? Like the first month he won Employee of the Month award. So as soon as he got here, I was super excited. And I knew, okay, maybe we can think about getting back into hospitality somehow. But the both of us actually started working in construction.
Construction. So are we in the Lower Mainland now at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are here now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping in and out.
That's okay.
But so the both of us started working in construction. We did that for 2 years. And somehow we knew, okay, we might just continue doing this. But
and just out of curiosity, why construction? Was it kind of like when you were new to Canada, it was maybe hard to get a job, or
it happened by accident, to be honest.
Okay.
Like one of my father's very close friend is a developer.
Okay.
And one morning he just asked me to get photocopies of one of his architectural drawings. And I got those, but I stuck around. Like everything was, say, literally getting built. So I had to come back and see what was going on the next day.
Right.
I had a little bit of time on my hands, so I thought I stuck around, and that's how I studied for my builder's exams. I cleared them, and I thought, okay, maybe this is what life has in store for me. But then COVID happened, so plans had to be redrawn. Vineet and I got back together, and we're like, okay, Vineet, Inder Raj, what should we do now? What is our now natural progression? So we started working in furniture warehousing.
The natural progression from construction.
Yeah, so because everything was shut, like there was no jobs, there was nothing going on.
It was a tough time. It was a scary time in the world. Right?
Yeah, so Vineet and I said, okay, you know what, let's do this for a little while, and while we do this, we'll figure it out. Whatever we can get now, let's do that. So the both of us started working in a furniture warehouse. Vineet, again, was amazing. He adapts really quickly. So no matter what you throw at him, he'll pick it up. So he was doing an amazing job. And we started importing furniture from India. And if you remember back then, there was a lot of discretionary spending in the market during COVID.
Yeah.
People were buying things left, right, center. Furniture was one of those commodities. Like we were backed up with orders for like months. Vineet was doing an amazing job. I was horrible at it. I could not tell a table's finish from the other. Like, what finish this was, what finish that was. So kind of I was not a right fit for our own thing, right?
Sure.
So I tell Vineet, listen, Vineet, you keep doing what you're doing. I am going to go drive with Uber and DoorDash so I sustain myself and think about what I can do or what we can do together. So while I did food deliveries, a very interesting thing happened. I was bang in the middle of the supply and demand for food.
Yeah, and during COVID, it was wild times for that. There was a lot of delivery
So,
happening.
like I would do food deliveries between 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So this was a full-time thing. I did that for 2 years. Mental notes were happening automatically as to which customer prefers which kind of food, which area, which demographic prefers what kind of food. So it was a case study happening simultaneously while I was doing this, while I was trying to figure things out as to what I wanted to do in life. I found interesting patterns. Like people loved Indian food, but they weren't ordering Indian food as much as I would think or I would hope so.
Why do you think that was?
Because Indian food, no matter how delicious it is, like our cuisine is heavy, is indulgent.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of times people would order it maybe once a month or twice a month.
Yeah, well, and actually, my wife and I were talking about that the other day too. Like, we love Indian food, we love ordering it, but oftentimes when you order it, it's kind of like Chinese food as well. Like, you order one dish, and you want some variety, so you order a couple other dishes. But oftentimes too, because of doing that, you got these big portions of each thing, but your bill ends up being, depending on how many people you're feeding, even a family of four, your bill ends up being well over $100 just because you want a little bit of that variety. Now you get to eat for a lot after that too, but maybe you want it once and done. I don't know, but we were talking about that as well.
Absolutely, you're right. Like it's a feast. Indian food's always, even back home in India, like every portion is cooked so that it can be shared, and by definition that means that it will be like for at least 3 to 4 people, like a proper meal, right?
Right.
In commercial terms, that ends up being expensive. Here, especially one of the highest food and labor costs. Well, Indian food also becomes slightly heavy on the pocket. If you're ordering for an office lunch, that becomes a treat, right? You can't just have a burrito or or a sandwich. It ends up being more, say $20-25 a person, to say the least.
Right.
So that's another aspect of our food. No matter how amazing the food is, but you've got to budget for it. Think about it. So that was another insight that I saw. And while I was doing all of that, I was looking for locations also. Like, where do I set it up? By then, I had figured out I wanted to do a fast casual Indian restaurant. Wraps and bowls, healthier, so that it can be had as a regular lunch for somebody who's working in an office. They can order in 15 minutes, their food is here, and they don't feel bloated. On the contrary, they feel more energized. Yeah. So I sat down with Vineet and Harsmita, and I told them, listen, let's do a fast casual Indian place. And I had some areas that I had kind of demarked to where the launch of the concept should be. My key markets were Kitsilano. I wanted to be in Mount Pleasant. South Surrey was not one of those priorities, only because I was not able to find the right store, say the right physical location, which checked all my boxes.
What makes the physical location so important? Is it more for like walk-by traffic, or what makes a good one versus one that's not maybe as lucrative?
So for those Indian guys specifically, a location needs to be a part of the market. Like, it's not a restaurant where people visit, in the sense that it's not a destination restaurant.
Right.
Something, let's use the example for My Shanti, the restaurant that we had at the Morgan Shops Crossing area. Something like that can be classified as a destination restaurant that you would drive out to.
Right.
Those Indian guys is something that you're just passing by and you grab your wrap or grab a bowl. So it has to be a part of the market where there are certain restaurants already, and you have a choice of a few things, but because those Indian guys offer something different, you might want to pick that over the others.
Which is a part of the philosophy of having it nice and quick as well, is because
Yes.
you're not necessarily the destination. I would argue that you might be the destination because I've made it that way many times, but you're looking for people that are passing by and don't have a lot of time so they can grab it, maybe jump in their car, sit down and enjoy it in the restaurant.
Exactly. So I always intended those Indian guys to coexist within like a food hub sort of a, if I can call it that, like food hub of kind of a situation. Parking needs to be super convenient. I exaggerate always that if there is an option, the person should just park the car within the restaurant.
Right.
It should be that convenient.
Right.
So I was always looking for a space like that. South Surrey, unfortunately, could not find a spot like that. And Kitsilano and Mount Pleasant, and to some extent, Davie in downtown Vancouver were some of my key markets because there were volumes. Parking was convenient, and there was a good mix of residential and commercial clients in those neighborhoods. So anyway, coming back to like those Indian guys as a concept, and what's differentiating us from say other restaurants is how we positioned the food and how we decided to have like a target customer base with this concept. That's what I mean, coming back to like what you asked was that this is how differentiates Indian restaurants like other Indian food to ours.
Yeah, well, a big part, like when we were getting ready for this interview, we had talked, and this was just so fascinating to me about the nutritional aspect of what you serve. So, taste aside, because I'm a big believer. I have a specific diet that I follow, and I want to talk about dietary restrictions as well with you as well. But I have a specific diet that I follow, and I've always had this belief that it's pretty easy to make food taste good. You know, it's well, let's put more oil, let's put more salt, let's put more cheese, let's put anything that we know is going to shoot the calories up through the roof. Well, it's easy to make something taste good that way. I find it more impressive when something tastes good, and it doesn't mean that it always has to be like the healthiest option necessarily, but it tastes good because of the ingredients that are in there, not necessarily like the sauces or the the high fat cheese and all that sort of stuff. So when you decided to roll out this menu, Vineet, now I got to ask, did he bring some of Mom's home recipes into the kitchen?
Certainly did.
I'm sure he did. And there's probably a lot of influence there from Mom with a lot of the recipes.
Yeah. So in terms of the nutrition aspect, nutrition values that our meals offer, we in fact hired a BC registered nutritionist to guide us through that process.
Why would you do that?
Because I knew our food had to be kept in check.
What do you mean by that?
If we were implementing, or even if we were going out, having the courage of making our food more healthier, more nutritious, it was going to go away from the commercialization of, say, food in the sense that it was going to become more home food, like more home style cooked. And although there is definitely a market for it, but that might restrict us from, say, multiplying.
Okay.
And every customer, every audience is expecting something. Like it's not that, we roll out a wrap, which is absolutely something that I would cook at home. You might have it once or twice, but it still needs to have that flavor. It still needs to have that, a little bit of that kick. And also the value of what you paid for, right?
Right.
Something that we cook at home is very neutral. Believe it or not, Indian food that we eat outside is miles apart from what we cook at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In what way? Just like the richness and the indulgent side of things that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So it's something I need to have you guys over to our place and maybe Vineet have Vineet cook a meal for you.
Yeah.
Just to get more into depth of this fact.
Okay.
That say a lentil dal, for example, has a day and night difference between what we find at a restaurant or what we find at home.
Really?
It's almost like a soup, the kind of dal that we cook at home.
Right.
The flatbreads, the ones that we have at a restaurant, these naans, these are delicious fluffy naans, are on the extreme end of a flatbread that we cook at home, which is a chapati.
Okay.
You might have had a chapati or a roti every now and then, right?
Yeah.
It's such a flaky, light, crispy flatbread that we have at home with dal. And that's a dinner, by the way, that we're talking about. So that's how stark the differences are. So we wanted to have a menu which is a balance of that. So when we did our bowls, when we did our wraps, and we sent off the recipes to a registered nutritionist, she took a look where, not compromising on the flavors. Like for example, the wrap. It has every wrap has a grilled protein which is done in a tandoor. Now the tandoor adds the flavor. It'll add that chariness to the protein, and the marinations, when they're soaked in already inside, it brings the flavors out, keeping the moisture in. All of that can only happen in a restaurant.
Right.
And nutritionist, she tweaked, say, the marination a little. Say if there's a little bit of yogurt, less or more, or in a bowl, how much nuts do we need, how much vegetables do we need. So all of that is what she helped us with. And that is from the get-go. That is what we wanted to do with the food.
Well, and you'd use the term balanced. Like you wanted to make sure your food was really balanced, and you were giving something back to people that met their nutritional needs when they showed up. So it wasn't just the connotation of fast food. It was fast, healthy food that was done in a way that was balanced and nutritionally dense. So you were getting a little bit of everything that you need when you come and sit down. And I was so fascinated by that, because the mentality behind the why of that, because we've met lots of restaurant owners on this show, and everyone's really proud of their dishes and whatnot, but you're the first person I've ever heard that has talked about bringing a nutritionist in to take a look at their menu and see how you can make it even better and more improved. And why was that important to you to do?
It from the concept standpoint of let's think of it as our core value, like the value that we all want to offer, say, to our guest or to our customer. The product needs to promise something. Like I'd always thought of, okay, if we get into hospitality, what are we going to offer to our guest or our customer? We could have done another Indian restaurant. We might have been similar, we might have been worse, we might have been slightly better. But there is already a lot of that, and some amazing places to already have that kind of an experience. So we wanted to promise somebody or the guest, anybody that comes through the door, that, okay, here is a little bit of value. We are not going to compromise on the taste. And you take back a little. It's not that it's something you want to feel guilty about.
Right.
Like you'll have the most delicious butter chicken. You can have the most delicious lachha parantha, butter naan. But maybe in the evening you'll be like, okay, it's slightly more of cardio to burn all of that off.
Right.
So I didn't want the guests to go with that sentiment. Like, okay, fine, I've loved my meal, I've enjoyed my meal, but okay, there's a bit of compromise.
Right.
That is what I did not intend those Indian guys to do to anyone.
Well, it makes such a differentiation between you and some of the other options that are in the market, and whether that's Indian food or otherwise, right? Like for people to come in and know that they can have something that's healthy, nutritious, and tastes like just flat out amazing, that makes you be able to go enjoy it guilt-free. Because we all have this idea in our head when we're getting lunch out sort of thing. Well, I know I could have gone home and I could have had a quinoa bowl or something like that, but I went out and had this. But to know that you can come and you just kind of fulfill that part of your day with healthy, nutritious food it's one of your core values, but it's also a big value back to the customer.
Yeah. So that's the basis. Like that's the baseline that we wanted to have at the restaurant. Like if there's a product, I'm calling it a product like as if I'm the McDonald's CEO. But if there is a product that you're buying, you obviously want to have it worth what you're spending, right? And it necessarily does not mean in that point in time. That value will carry with you, like it'll go with you. For example, food is something that your body does not just consume and it's all gone in the wind, right? It'll stay with you.
Right.
On top of that, now this is my personal belief, on top of that, what I wanted to build was an experience. Like it's not only limited to say 5-star restaurants. It's not only limited to Michelin star restaurants or 7-star hotels where you come in and you experience hospitality. After Vineet was done with his menu, after Vineet was done, the nutritionist was done curating all the macros for the food, I sat the team down and I told them, listen, it's not just about that. We need to have somebody come in and remember what this was all about. Have a conversation with us, let them sit down and let them know about what Indian food actually is, what Indian hospitality actually is.
Right.
All of this is not reserved just to the echelons of hospitality, right?
Right.
A fast casual restaurant can do that too. So we had the opportunity, like Vineet and I, we come from this background. It was almost like it was our responsibility to do that, like to let the guest know who we were, what India is, what Indian food is, what Indian hospitality is, what Jaipur is, what Delhi is, because there's not a lot of exposure to those parts of India. Like if somebody's fortunate enough to travel to, say, India, they get to experience it. Every person that I've spoken to who've had the opportunity, they always use the word experience for India. They're not going to be like, oh, it was the most fun time or it was the most horrible time. They'll always express their time in India as an experience. We almost have the responsibility to kind of showcase that in whichever way we can. So that is a part of the ethos of the entire concept. And we would like to carry that on no matter where we open or how many we open.
Yeah, well, and you used the word values earlier, and there's other values that are so different that is shared amongst your culture at your restaurant that you don't necessarily see otherwise. And one that comes to mind that's easy to pick on is the culture of not tipping. Why did you decide that you wanted to be in the fast service industry and not accept tips?
So I always elaborate my story. So I'll give you a little short backstory about this too. My father has been the most gracious host. Even before getting into hospitality, being in, say, one of the most culturally rich places on the planet, he would have a lot of guests from all over the world. He would take such pride in showing people around, as if, if we're going to a fort, it was as if he had a part to play in building that fort. So he'd show people around in that manner. And there was no transaction. Like, it wasn't ever about, okay, if I show you around, what do I get in return?
Right.
If I give you an experience, what do I get in return? So from that core, while growing up, that core memory I had, or that feeling I had of, say, having somebody earn an experience, or not, I won't use the word earn, but say, having experienced something so surreal, I wanted to have somebody come over without the, let's say, pressure of, okay, I need to give back something more. I need to give back something in return. That is from the part of the, say, the empathetic thought process I had. But we are simply a counter service place. And if we're getting into technicalities, the guest comes in, orders themselves, they pick the food up, they leave their trays near the bin. There is no table service. So I didn't think there was any need of tipping.
Well, it's such a different viewpoint on it too. Like you, like an easy example that you jump on Reddit and you can see this just it is all over in comment sections about the culture of tipping in North America, and which isn't a culture necessarily everywhere else in the world, but the culture of tipping in North America, and the coffee shop is the one that always comes up. And I often think about this when I when I go into a coffee shop, I go and I order a black coffee. So the barista turns around, they pull the thing down, and they hand me my black coffee, and I'm staring down at this payment, asking me to tip, and I often joke with my wife, and I say, well, what was the alternative to what they just did for me? There wasn't really any level of service there, and not to say that we don't appreciate them being there, but they turned around, they filled the coffee, and they handed it to me, and well, what really was the service? And so I think that's a big fail by a lot of organizations and coffee shops and restaurants and that, because you start to kind of subconsciously really decide, do I want to go to the coffee shop where I've got somebody staring at me and I order, you know, a $3 coffee and they're staring at you at the eyes and they're expecting, you know, a 20% tip on pulling the coffee, or am I going to go maybe to the place that doesn't expect that and they just maybe pay their employees what they're worth and I feel good, they feel good. So it's an interesting debate that's out there. And I think by creating a culture of no tipping, not only, you know, what you talked a lot about values, but one of your values too is also having reasonably priced food. And I was completely blown away when I went into your place for the first time, I think where that initial Instagram video was that I had filmed. And they rang up my bill and I'm looking at it and number one, I'm like, I don't think they charged me properly. Because it was so inexpensive.
You should not have told me that.
Well, yeah, now you're gonna raise your prices, right? No, I'm kidding. But I was blown away by how inexpensive it was, and then I'm paying for it, and I'm like, there's no tip option. Then I'm kind of looking around for the tip jar, and then, you know, what did I miss something here? Like, what's going on? In talking with you though, that's what you're, you know, that real kind of true hospitality. That's the culture that you're trying to instill in your staff, in your restaurant, and that inviting, you know, you're our guest type of mentality when people come in and visit. It's incredible.
I'm glad you mentioned something very amazing, Darren, that we are responsible for our team. In the end, the team is doing everything that it can, or even beyond. Say in some cases like ours, we should cover, or we should have whatever it takes to remunerate our employees the way they should be. So unfortunately, whatever it is, the industry passes that on to the guest or to the customer. Right? And that is where the sentiment that you shared, or, you know, the idea that you shared is relevant and is true. When you're paying for a coffee, right, and you're just picking up your cup and leaving, I come from that mindset that, okay, you haven't been attended on your table, or you're just picking up your stuff and leaving. There is no table service. That's the clear definition of why you would tip, right? If somebody is serving you, if somebody is giving you an extra service beyond the product that you bought, that qualifies for a tip, right? Dependent obviously on what kind of experiences.
I had heard that the acronym TIP, I don't know if this is true, but the acronym TIP actually stands for to improve service. So when, you know, and it's a fascinating thing too, when you order something and you actually haven't had the service yet, you're tipping in advance. And the, you know, the philosophy could work either way, I guess. Like you're tipping to try and make that a better experience as you're there. You know, so you could tip before, or you're tipping as a thank you for incredible service along the way. But when people are asking for it in advance, it's fascinating because you're like, well, you haven't really done anything yet.
And it's coming out a lot more now. I mean, we always had that thought underlying somewhere, but now, because it's almost become, you know, that somebody's twisting your arm to take that tip out, right? So that just defeats the entire purpose. Like, you want to be happy, you know, with the service, and then you willingly want to tip somebody as a gratitude, as a gesture. Okay, thank you so much for such an amazing service, or, you know, the delicious food, or everything, whatever they've done. So the tips emotion comes from there, right? And now that even before you get your product, there's a tipping prompt on the POS. That is just absolute contradiction to what the whole system is about, right? But again, it's, as a business, our responsibility to not have that. I know I'm probably, you know, right now conflicting a lot of notions that go on in the industry, but from where I come, from what beliefs I have grown up with, I am entitled to have that system.
Well, and the proof is in the results too. Like whenever I've come to visit, I try not to visit too often because I feel like people are going to see me there and recognize me all the time because I'm there too much, because I just love it so much. But like when I come in there, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Like the restaurant has lots of people in it. There's lots of deliveries that come in and out as well, which, you know, we're lucky to be in a world, especially for restaurants, to be able to benefit from DoorDash and that sort of stuff. And I know there's fees that come on top of that, but it's still productivity for the restaurant,
Yes.
being able to sell product and get their food out there to the
Yeah.
people. But it's always busy in there, and that comes down to the culture that you've created in there, the values that you stand for, you know, the incredible food that you put out and you serve to the community. And I think that's a testament to what you do, is because of how full that restaurant is every time I come there.
Yeah, I think it all comes from, to be honest with you, Darren, absolutely, it comes from the team. No matter what theories I might have in my head, right? No matter what great ideas, conquering the world ideas I might have in my head. But if the team that I have, you know, each and every one is able to relate to it, is able to, I'm going to say, even believe it, say 50%, that okay, there is a mission, there is this idea that we want to create, which is not just about a restaurant, it is more about hospitality, it is more about giving value. When the team embodies it, that is how everything it's right there in front of us. Like when our guests, when the community comes in, if it's me, even if it's Arpita in the front, if it's Paras, if it's Vineet, no matter who it is, everybody reflects that sentiment. Okay, that we want you to come in and have an amazing time. If we make mistakes, if there is something wrong with it, we will go above and beyond to make that experience even better. And I am going to admit this, I am the one who makes the most mistakes.
It's on camera now. It's public now.
It is, and I am, you know what, I didn't even have to admit it, a lot of people already know about it.
The word's out there, yeah.
Yes. So I am the one who's going to say, sometimes forget, you know, that somebody ordered a chai, say for example. I'll bring it out, but I genuinely admit that mistake. Okay, fine, it was a mistake. I forgot that that you had a chai. I'll bring it out to you. Yeah. The most beautiful thing that happens is it makes our relationship stronger.
Right.
Like there is no pretending that, okay, you know, this is what had happened. The chai got delayed because of this and that, because we were brewing it in a way where it took a little more time. Why do I don't even need to pretend that. It's an actual thing that happened. I admit it. And every time, it's not even like sometimes, every time, my relationship with the guest has gotten better.
Well, it's funny, you know, I've had that experience in my real estate business as well. Like when you have an experience where everything just goes completely smoothly, it's not necessarily memorable. And I know, like in my career over almost 20 years of doing this, like when I've had the really tough deals or the things pop up that were unexpected and they took a lot of work or thinking or just creativity to get them solved, those are the people who you end up having the best relationship with, that become your biggest advocates, because whether it was a mistake or something that came up during a transaction or whatnot, they recognize you're human, but also that you care, and you're trying to make it right, and you're trying to really help them have this experience that you're trying to create for them, which I think is so cool. Now, I wanted to ask you this because I know what I would say, but if you could grab somebody by the shoulders and let them know something that they might not understand about running a business, running a restaurant in South Surrey, and maybe some of the challenges that come with that, what would you say to that?
I think today's time, which is well, relative to our restaurant industry here, the biggest challenge is having the right team. I am privileged. Like, I'm not going to say, knock on wood, I'm not superstitious, but yeah.
You can knock on wood. I think this table may be wood.
I feel having the right people who believe in your mission is the biggest challenge. I had Vineet along with me, and Harsmita, well, I had always thought of doing this this way anyway. So if the team follows and understands what you're set out to do, then that's your biggest opportunity. And I think it's true to every industry if you think about it, right? In the restaurant industry, that's the biggest challenge. Like if we've set out to create a menu, or my front of the office staff believes that they are going to be giving an experience which is unparalleled, which is very casual, like a homely experience. If they don't believe that, then whatever you've dreamt of does not translate. So in my opinion, that is the challenge that the restaurant industry or hospitality industry in general, in the broader sense, faces. There's obviously the immediate challenges of, the food costs, the labor costs, and rising rents, and no discretionary spending in the market. Bank of Canada holding rate of interest, all of that is economics.
Right.
That will affect each and every market, not just the restaurant industry, but obviously it does affect us because we are a retail business. The first thing that you want to do is cut down on your eating out expenses. I mean, that is what I do, right? So that is in the general sense. But all in all, specifically the restaurant or the hotel industry, I believe faces the challenge of having the team on board with your idea.
Well, and when you say that, it kind of loops back in almost everything that we talked about today. Like your business compass and your moral compass and your value compass is so aligned in not what you're trying to create, what you've created, and the way that you look at approaching business, the way that you look at serving the customer, and it shows when you go there. So I think we'd be remiss to not cover, if I am going out for lunch today, what's the number one thing I should be looking at on the menu? What's the best selling?
I am notorious for imposing my preferences.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
So the number one thing that you should have today is the tikka fish bowl.
The tikka fish bowl, okay.
Yes, I don't know if you had it.
I don't. So actually, and the one thing I did want to touch on, and we'll touch on that in a moment, is the different nutritional options or dietary options rather at the restaurant. But it's the tikka fish bowl.
So it's one of our most popular bowls. The most popular bowl, by the way, is the Vinny's favorite, which is our butter chicken bowl. Okay. Everybody kind of relates to a butter chicken, and Vineet has done an amazing job of combining a proper Delhi-style butter chicken with some pulao rice, some charred bell peppers, a little bit of pumpkin seeds in there, and wilted spinach and yogurt. So it creates a beautiful meal. And not just for your appetite, but visually it's there. Mm-hmm. The tikka fish bowl is distinct because the curry itself is inspired from Southern Indian style food.
Okay.
A little bit of coconut flavors in there, some mustard seeds. The fish itself is marinated like in a homemade blend, again charred in a tandoor. I love it for the fact that there's some peanuts tossed in some tamarind chutney, and they add such nice contrast to the bowl with some turmeric rice and avocado cucumber salad. So it's a beautiful platter. Yeah. Individual platter, and I can munch on it dinner and lunch both. And I've done that.
Well, and we can prove that it's nutritious food because you're not a big guy. So we know if you're eating that every day for lunch, you're doing
I'm actually an idiot. You know why? Because I've lost weight.
Yeah.
And I'm underweight.
Well, that's another good thing we can put on the banner there. You'll lose weight if you can be like the Jared from Subway when.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I should be eating more.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like now I've started eating a roti, a naan with the bowl. Yeah. So I can gain a little.
Right.
But yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you is about the decision, because it is a decision, to cater to different dietary needs at the restaurant. So my wife and I are vegan, as an example, and I gotta say the wrap that what's the name of the wrap?
The righteous vegan wrap.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like unbelievable. And the bao buns, the mushroom bao buns, which we were having a nice conversation about earlier, but. Why did you decide, not limited to just vegan, but I know there's other options on there for different dietary constructs, different dietary restrictions. Why did you decide to do that? What was important about doing that?
So the kind of food that we have, we wanted to offer something to say everyone. Let's say that, right? Not in terms of the concept, but whatever food we had, it had to be inclusive. Inclusivity in the sense that every dietary restriction, even preferences, can be accommodated. Like sometimes will make a bowl out of thin air for somebody who has some allergies, who has some dietary restrictions or even preferences. Like he'll tweak the bowl in a way which comes out as a different dish altogether. Yeah. From the commercial standpoint, we are a volume restaurant. We have to have everything move in a way where it goes out as multiples, right? And the prices, the whole menu reflects the volumes need to go out. So we had to have a little bit of something for everyone, uh, in the sense that it does not deviate from the concept.
Well, I love that. It reminds me, I was out on a business dinner about a week ago, and we were in Halifax. And with my dietary restrictions, there used to be this really great, I think it was a cauliflower steak or something like that, or a vegan meatloaf, anyways, that the keg had. So we went to the keg in Halifax, and we went there and we sat down, and they didn't have any other options. And you're thinking, well, why would a vegan go to a steakhouse? Well, here's why. The other two people I was with ate meat. They were looking forward to having steak, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We picked up, we walked across, because they wanted to make sure I was included, to your point about being inclusive. We walked across the street to Chop, another very nice steakhouse. Multiple options on the menu for me. I had a great dinner. They had a great dinner.
Yeah.
We bought cocktails, we bought appetizers, we had a great dinner. I don't know what the total bill was. Everybody had their own bills, but I'm going to imagine it was somewhere around $300. That's $300 that didn't go to one restaurant because they made a decision. And I get, they have to make business decisions, but they chose not to keep it inclusive and allow for people to come in with certain dietary restrictions. And I just love that you've done that, because it's, like selfishly, it's another place in my cap where I know in South Surrey, I can go get some incredible food, but it's not just limited to people that don't eat meat or dairy. Like, there's so many things in there that you guys can do. And it just really brings it back to that business compass, that moral compass, that inclusivity, like, is another thing, and all those values that you've talked about today. And I think if anybody takes away anything from today's interview, it's just, you're going to be treated like family when you come there. You're going to leave full, I'll tell you that, because I leave so full when I come there, but I am just so satisfied and I feel great after I eat it. So we are so lucky to have you guys in South Surrey.
Oh no, thank you. It means the world to us. Like, being open for a year now, and that is what the community is made us feel. Being welcomed, and not only being welcomed, everybody is almost like rooting for us. Think about it. Your customers, your guests, giving you the sense that, go and do whatever you want, and, multiply, and just keep doing what you're doing. That is motivation, say, to wake up every day and keep it going, no matter how tough times are, right? I think all comes back to empathy as a core value. So our culture, even every culture for that matter, teaches empathy, right? And my father, my family, we've always grown up with that sentiment. So no matter if it was business, my DoorDash driving, or my furniture gig, which I hated, or my construction work, empathy has always been, I think, a part of my personality. And those Indian guys, by default, gains that. And I don't think it'll ever lose that.
Oh, I love that. What a perfect way to wrap this up. Inder Raj, it was a pleasure to have you. I want everybody listening to this, everybody watching this, to come pay you guys a visit. You've done such an incredible job. We're lucky to have you in the community, and I wish you tons of success, because I know there's big things on the horizon for those Indian guys, and but it all starts with what's going on in South Surrey here. So thank you for being on the show. And
Thank
being
you.
on the Best of White Rock.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Sarah, for everything. It was amazing.
Thanks.